Hey guys, welcome to Circular Motion. I'm Paul, and thank you for coming back. If you are coming back, and hello and welcome. If you're new to the channel, if you are new, please hit like and subscribe. That would help me out enormously, and it would mean a great deal to me personally. And don't forget to tickle the old notification bell if it's more content you're after. Anyway, let's jump straight in. This week we are looking at this album. But before we start, I just want to say thanks to those of you that are coming back. I know I've been very quiet for the last few months. I've had a lot to deal with, but that's all behind me now. I'm back and raring to go, and I'll be uploading loads more cool content in the coming months. But anyway, without any further ado, let's crack on. So, back in 1992, Dr. Brian May released his first solo album as opposed to the Starfleet EP. And it wasn't bad at the time. It was, two sides of classic dad rock, I suppose you'd call it. It was nothing earth-shattering or groundbreaking, but there were a couple of great tracks, including Driven by You, which was obviously the single which was used in the advert for Ford Motor Cars, and Resurrection, which is an absolute belter of a track. Some other nice tracks, Love Token, Back to the Light. The big thing with Brian is his vocals are sometimes a little weak. The follow-up to this, Another World, had some great tunes on, but the vocals are just... It's an album that I don't listen to a great deal, but this one has a couple of good tracks on it, and I do sort of persevere. Let Your Heart Roll Your Head's nice. It's a Lonnie Donegan cover. Rolling Over, I think, is a Faces cover. I'm not sure, but I think it'll probably say somewhere in here. But then you've got some Poop. Just One Life, just a horrible filler track. I'm not really a massive fan of Too Much Love Will Kill You. Nothing But Blue's alright. I'm Scared's alright. Last Horizon's nice because it's an instrumental, and I like instrumentals. And Brian does play guitar really well. So, anyway, this album. It hasn't been available for years. I remember when I got Amazon Music and I had a look to see if it was on there. And it wasn't nothing. There's like a couple of tracks with him and Kerry Ellis, and then they lump him in with some Australian dude who did a lot of film soundtracks, including the original Mad Max film called Brian May. But for some reason, it's both out of print as a CD, as a vinyl, understandably, and you just couldn't get it on any streaming platforms either. The only way you could get it was on, a couple of like dodgy sites where you could download the whole album. But he's dusted it off, polished it up, allegedly, and he's remastered it and had it reissued. And he's made quite a lot of fuss about it. I don't know if you've been following any of the shenanigans, but yeah, he's made. You wouldn't have expected it to be a re-release. You would have thought the way he was going on that it would have been a brand new album. He seems desperate to get it up in the charts. It's some kind of validation for him, maybe. I don't know. It's a shame because he doesn't need it, because he's one of the greatest guitar players that's ever lived, and he was guitar player and songwriter in one of the best bands that we've ever seen come out of this country. In fact, seen in the world, in my opinion, which is not usually wrong. And it's not that great an album. It's not like, All Things Must Pass or any of a million other like really, really, really great albums that you can think of that you would think you'd make quite a lot of fuss about. But what's good about it? Let's see. So, it was in multiple formats and he didn't rip people off. I got this from the Queen website for 20 quid. If you get it from HMV, you're going to be looking at paying 29. I haven't looked on Amazon, but I don't think it's much more on Amazon than the 20 that I paid for it. There were the CD release, I think, was a tenner, which was decent, or maybe even less than a tenner. I think 6 or 7 quid, something stupid like that. You could get a cassette version of it now, which blew my mind. And then he did a deluxe version. The problem I have with the deluxe version is that because there was some extra tracks that he's not put on vinyl, he's only put on CD. So you're going to have to either buy a CD or buy the deluxe version of the album to get the extra tracks. And just it's a bit disappointing that they weren't released as a vinyl double album. I would have paid for that just to say that I had it, just sort of to be complete. Because I didn't buy this when it came out on vinyl originally. I got it on CD, which I have here. It's quite old. You can see it's actually quite a dirty cover there. I don't know why that is, but I've had that since 1992. And so what's good about it again? So I mean, it's nicely packaged. It's got it's not got the big original picture. It's got some additional liner notes here. Original 1992 liner notes. Then he's got some 2021 liner notes. The original, not the original, the deluxe version, he did a limited edition signed offer, and to be fair to him, he didn't charge any extra. So the box set's 70 quid, the deluxe version 70 quid, and it was 70 quid to get a signed copy, so fair play to him. So yeah, it's come out on the 2021 Gold Series reissue. Has been meticulously recreated from the original first generation master mixes using the finest current technology. And more on that in a little while. But yeah, it's got the lyrics on. And what I do like about this is that there are no additional sleeves in there. Quite often, when you buy a reissue these days, you get the outer sleeve and you get a paper in a sleeve, and then you get a reproduction of the original in the sleeve. It just seems pointless. Just use one or the other. To include everything like that is just a bit of a waste of paper, in my opinion. So it's nice to see that he has kept, because he is quite an environmentally minded man, and I do admire him for his dedication to things like that and animal rights. But so Brian is fond of digital technology. He's fond of sticking things onto a computer by all accounts and fiddling about in them, which means he's taken the master tapes and he's digitized them. And yeah, and it doesn't do any justice to this album. And this is the downside of this album. This is why I'm not really, I'm glad I've got it, but I am going to try and hunt down an original copy of this, I think, once the dust has settled, because people are stupidly trying to sell them for over 100 quid on eBay at the moment, which is just absolutely clown shoes, because on Discogs it says, well, you should expect to pay on the median about 30 quid. And at most 60, 65. So there's no fucking way I'm going to pay 135 quid for this album. But yeah, so the sound isn't great. It's not bad. It's not a bad sounding album, but everything just seems very flat. It's not a quiet album by any stretch of the imagination, but there's nothing that reaches out and tickles your taste buds like you would have hoped, having spent all this time and all this fuss promoting it. I was expecting a great deal. I was expecting it to be quite an oral orgasm, to be honest. But what I did was I took this and I took that and I played them side by side, one track after the other. I've got a pants little Curry's own brand MIDI system down here that I've got going into my receiver and through my speakers, and it is pants. I think it was 100 quid, and you can hear the motor on it when you get some quiet moments. But this sounded better than this, and it's a shame. It's a shame. It seems like he's mixed everything on one line and just up the volume on some of the frequencies. The vocal harmonies can sometimes be quite nice and sharp, but not always. Some of the solo parts can be quite nice and sharp, but not always. And it's not flat or dull. Or if you listen to, say, the Rust in Peace reissue, that sounds compressed to hell. This doesn't sound massively compressed. It just doesn't sound great. It's not very bright. Whereas this is a lot more full-bodied. There's a lot more warmth to it. There's a nice definition across everything that album sadly just doesn't have. So, in terms of nostalgia, I like Brian. do. I like Queen, which is well documented. So in terms of nostalgia, is it worth 20 quid? Yeah, it's worth 20 quid. It's not the worst sounding album you're ever going to listen to, but just don't be expecting it to knock your socks off orally. And if you can get a hold of the CD, the original CD, I mean, I've not tried. I might get a copy of the new CD just to see how it compares with the old CD, but I think that's getting a little bit too anal. But overall, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I'm hoping that he does turn his hand to the Starfleet album and he remixes that and does a proper job of it and digs out some cool extras. Imagine that. Some outtakes with Eddie Van Halen and everybody. But anyway, thank you for watching. Again, if you've enjoyed what you see and this is your first time here, please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to tickle the old notification bell. I'll be doing more regular content now that I'm back in business in my fortress of pulchritude here. And yeah, stay safe, take care.